Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa. And for the first time on this show, we get to celebrate a playoff win as the Sens stay alive in Game 5, defeating the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-0. And you know what that means. We get to hit the Sensed button because the Toronto Maple Leafs have been Sensed here tonight on this lovely Tuesday evening. And we've got a full panel tonight with me, Maude, Damian, and Michael. How are you guys doing? I'll throw it to you first, Damian.
Oh, so good. Like this is like we might not even win this series, right? But just the fact that we had this happen in the playoffs, like if we lost in five, I would have been disappointed, right? If even if we lose next game, even if we lose next game, and I'm just being very conservative with this here, if we lose next game, I'm still chill. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Like they made a comeback a little bit, and the best part is that the Leafs fans and the players, they look so worried right now.
Yeah, they're rattled. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm ecstatic. The fact that overall in this series, as Damian and I have even mentioned, that one of the biggest kind of question marks has been Ullmark's performance, and then seeing him get a shutout to lead the Sens to a win, that not only inspires confidence in the fact that, oh, this is the goalie for us, but this inspires confidence, not just in the future, but like right now. That if Ullmark keeps this up, even if he doesn't have a single more shutout, if Ullmark keeps this up, the Sens have a genuine shot to do a reverse sweep here.
Yeah, that's what we were saying going into the series was to get to like 6 or 7 games, you're probably going to need Ullmark to steal at least a game or two. And we finally got him stealing a game. I feel like his performance was steadily increasing from game to game. Like obviously the horrible first game, and then he was doing kind of average, but the save percentage getting slightly better. I think in game 4 he got around 900 save percentage, and then you get the shutout here tonight. So we gotta give props to Linus Ullmark for just having the confidence to rejoin or to regain his high level of play that we know that he's able to do. He had some ups and downs this season, and it kind of started off a little rough, but he was able to find his game in the middle of the season when he got more starts consecutively, and it seems to be going that way here in the playoffs too, where it was a rough start, but now he's looking lights out. It was just pretty awesome to see a goalie steal a game on the road too, because the Sens' 2 road games early on in this series were probably their 2 worst games of the series.
Yeah.
And so I was a little worried going back to the Leafs arena where their crowd in those first 2 games was actually like...
It was good. Yep.
It was actually really loud and quite hostile in the building there, but the Sens just totally shut them up tonight, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what, like, your goaltender, sure, you can have some shaky starts on home ice, but the thing is, your crowd's always going to be behind you. But when you're on the road, you're 1 against 100, basically. All eyes are on you, right? All the pressure. I mean, maybe not in this case, but your goalie has to be your best player. And Linus Ullmark, at least myself, I crapped on him so much this series because there were so many bad goals, right? And the thing is with the Leafs is that they got quite a number of lucky goals. The Sens have had some too.
Yeah.
Right? But like Linus made the saves he needed to do, and they got a little lucky with a couple posts here and there, but you know what? I will take the shutout.
Yeah, I mean, hard not to, right? And I just feel like the thing about Ullmark today is that not only was he better, but the defense in front of him was better to the extent of he didn't have to make any like flashy saves.
No.
In fact, most of the saves that he tried in desperation were either just misses, so it wasn't a save per se. And then there was that one post that the Leafs hit towards the end of the game when the Sens were only 2-0 up. I think it was whenever they had the empty net.
Yeah, Matthews, I think.
Yeah, but even then,
he was right there on that one. At first,
Yeah.
I thought that it was a stick save because I didn't hear it hit the post. But obviously it was off the post. But Ullmark was there with the desperation attempt. So even on one where it looked like it should just be a guaranteed goal for the Leafs, and Ullmark could have been down and out, he still got over there, and it made it more difficult on Matthews to cover up some of the shooting area that he could have put it in.
Yeah, I mean, he could have, but I was the with the Leafs this series, right? The first 3 games, all their top players have been so good, right? Every time Marner, Matthews had the puck, I thought actually Matthews not as much, but Marner looks so
Marner,
good.
Nylander, Tavares, like those have been the big 3 in this series so far. Matthews has been kind of
Yeah, he's been quiet. I mean, he had the game tying goal, I think, in game
And he's been
Agreed.
really good defensively. Like,
Yep.
he's been pretty solid defensively.
He always has been. Yeah,
Yeah,
he always
so
has been. But then at the same time, it's like he has one goal, but he also, I think he has 6 or 7 points. So he's still getting on the scoreboard. But
yeah.
tonight, I think they were like all -4. Uh, and
I get.
it was great to see the like the because we've watched from afar, right, in the playoffs, saying, oh yeah, like they choked against Boston pretty much every year, right? But against us now, it's
Oh, it's a
great to
different
see the
story.
little
Yeah.
cracks start to increase a little bit.
I think that's the funniest part is that they started off so well, like you said. All of their star
Mhm.
guys had like 4, 5, 6 points through the first 3 or 4 games, and then now the seeds of doubt are being sown, and we've shown that we do have the ability to shut them out. In the regular season, the Leafs only scored 3 goals against the Sens in 3 games. So when they started scoring like crazy at the beginning of this series, I was like, wow, maybe the Sens really just aren't built for the playoffs. But it took them a little while, and now they're managing to be pretty competitive and showing pretty good shutdown ability against those stars in the last 2 games, I'd say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, we knew this team was good defensively, and I'm really impressed by Toronto's defense core as well. I will say, like they do not give up a whole lot. Like the Sens have had to cash in on their opportunities, and they did so this game, especially because
Mhm.
I felt like the first 2 goals, like those are their only two real. I mean, there was the Batherson chances, I guess, but their decor is excellent. I think like they don't have that Jake Sanderson type, but you have Brandon Carlo and Chris Tanev in your top four.
Like,
That's
good, solid
excellent,
defensive defenseman.
like really good, like one of the best, like a couple of the best defensive defensemen out there in terms of like how big they are in like the defensive zone. Sure, they don't have a ton to offer on the offensive side of the puck, but I think like Chris Tanev is as good defensively as like Cale Makar is offensively. You know what I mean? So for the Sens to cash in on their opportunities, that was so necessary tonight because this team has been a bad finishing team this
Yeah.
year.
That's the thing.
So,
The
oh,
blueprint
sorry.
in this series was if you're going to beat the Leafs, is going to have to be these grinding, low-scoring defensive games, and they showed the ability to win one of those tonight. Obviously, there was 2 previously that they lost in overtime that were 3-2. Those were pretty low in terms of shots on goal for both teams in those games, really. So we've played that game before, but this is the first time we were able to pull off a win in that fashion. Because Game 4 was a bit more of a shootout with goals back and forth, and the Sens I think
Yeah.
recorded 4 goals on like 22 shots in that game, so that was an off night for Stolars, but Stolars was back on it tonight and pretty good. So the fact that we were able to win with that shutdown game, that's what we wanted heading into this series, I think.
And I just want to say one more thing, Damien. You were 100% right. I mean, not every single player, but Marner -4, Nyes -4, Matthews -4.
You
Yeah,
love
there
to
you
see
go.
it. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Like that's a
Uh,
beautiful thing to see as a fan.
yeah, Nylander -3, and Matthews. Oh, yeah, I said Matthews -4. Yeah. So it's if anything, I think one thing that Ullmark did, especially in this game, that immediately I think calmed most Sens fans down while we're still talking about Ullmark, is just the first period. There
Yeah.
was no
Yeah.
worries in the first. There was no crazy scrambles. There was no crazy plays. In fact, the only scramble part of the first was on Stolars whenever Batherson almost scored, and I think it was Riley kept the puck out really early on. So I just think if there's anyone I think we really do need to give our credit to, not only because the position is so important, but also with the context of how the series has gone so far.
Yeah.
Linus Ullmark. I know I don't have you on the back of my jersey yet, but I'm still holding to that promise once I can afford it.
This is the time you need to do it.
Yeah,
To
and it's gonna be on this jersey. There's no name on the back of this, so the only hope is that this is a reverse retro. I need to hope that they have the reverse retro lettering still in stock at the CTC.
I like that you brought up the first period specifically because obviously in a shutout, Ullmark was good throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
But specifically in that first period, I think the shots were like 12-3 or something like that. They removed a couple of shots from the Sens in the intermission. So, and it wasn't like the Leafs were dominating the period, but I think on that first power play where it went for about 1:10 before there was an even up call, I think they had like 5 shots early on. So Ullmark was absolutely huge there to not allow the first goal and give his team the chance to score the first goal in this game, because obviously we know how much better the Sens are when they score first. So the way that Ullmark started off this game, just dialed in right from the beginning, was just absolutely huge. First star of the game for sure, eh?
Yeah. Not even
Yeah.
close. I mean, there was some players who did step up, like, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
yeah, it's hard not to give Ullmark the first star once it's A, a shutout, B, it's not even just a lazy shutout where the
Hmm.
offense carries you and the goalie stands still. Like he made a lot of solid saves, nothing flashy,
Yeah,
but a ton of important
that's
saves.
all you want though,
And the
literally.
context, yeah, and the context of Ullmark having that slow start to the series too, and he's
Hmm.
keeping us alive with his performance. He's got to be the first star. But like kind of sneakily though, those two empty net goals, two 3-point games from Kachuk and Stutzla.
Hmm.
That's funny. I
Yeah,
think I
sure.
saw I think I saw it was the first 3-point game for a Sens player in an elimination game. Uh
Huh. I
so
mean that makes sense.
Ever?
yeah,
Well,
they
it's because
they
the Sens in elimination games always kind of just did nothing,
Yeah,
so
we've
I'm not
never
too
won a game
surprised.
seven,
no
so
game
Yeah.
7 wins, so yeah.
one
But
game away from that.
a little bit of stat
Two.
penning there, which is funny.
Hmm.
Um, I figure we can probably get into the offense that the Sens produced tonight, but before
Yes.
we do that, going to get a quick little ad read here. If you're looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada, and if you have a few spare bucks kicking around, you can head to our Patreon page at patreon.com/the Game Over Network. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, opportunities to give us feedback, and you can even join us for special shows live, where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. If you're not able to spare a few dollars, we have a free tier available so you don't miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and share our work on your social media of choice. That is patreon.com/the Game Over Network. So yeah, into our second period here, we gotta talk about the goals that the Sens did get in this game. And it wasn't a lot of offense in that first period. Obviously, you had the two Batherson chances where he just wasn't quite able to finish. They were tough ones. Like Tanev tied him up in front of the net, so he wasn't even able to get a shot off on one of those. And then you had the Perron chance off the post, where Morgan Riley cleared it off the goal line before Batherson could get to that one too. But even though those were some close calls, they gave me a bit of confidence because the Sens were buzzing around the net and actually getting into the crease. Even though they got boxed out on those chances, I think it was a positive sign for what was to come. And the first goal in the second period, Thomas Chabot getting out on net from Brady Tkachuk crashing the net and getting a perfect screen in front of Stolars, and Chabot just drifts the shot through. I don't think Stolars saw that at all. That was a great way to open the scoring. You love when a play comes together right off the faceoff, especially in this series when the Leafs have been doing it against us so much. So nice to see us pull off a play like that, right?
Yeah, for a second I thought it was tipped too, but I think it just hit
Mm.
either the shoulder or the stick of Stolar's and kind of just barely, like, you know,
You didn't
post
see it
deflection
then.
stayed in the net. Yeah, but he didn't see it. And
Yeah, that's
I
the
think
key.
one thing we can say about every goal except for the next one, which we'll talk about, which I want to talk about quite a bit, is that I think it's safe to say that whatever worries we had about Brady Tkachuk are diminishing. Because today was an amazing Brady Tkachuk
Hmm.
performance. Like he did end up with a lot of good stats, albeit with the two empty net goals. But even with that goal, he was so crucial. He passed it to Chabot in the first place, and then crashed the net to make sure that he was screening the goalie, and Stolarz didn't see anything. Like, that's as good as you can do without scoring the goal. So,
Yeah.
full credit to Kachuk in that play, but obviously also full credit to Chabot. And oh my God, I know there's a ton of players who are getting their playoff debuts now for the Sens, but holy crap, if there's one player who deserves a playoff goal just for the sake
So
of getting through the
long
tough years, it
in
is
the
Thomas
making,
Chabot.
The longest tenured senator, right?
Yeah, but not
literally.
only that, also just someone who we all know is his game has always been more offensive than defensive, but he's also never been a goal scorer. He's been more of a playmaker offensively and kind of transitional. And him scoring a goal like this to just give us that little bit of safety padding that we could rest on throughout the game, and then lean back on our strong defensive structure and good goaltending. It set the tone. I think it's safe to say that that goal set the tone for the game, and Ullmark stepping up kept it. But Shabbat
Mm.
doing that obviously set the tone.
One thing about that goal too is that like there's been moments in this series where it will just be a random shot like in the middle of a period like after a commercial break and it'll go in and that will end up being the game-winning goal. And that's what happened here. I don't know what time it was and if it was right after a commercial break, but it's just like it's a random offensive zone. The play hasn't been developed fully here, and then it's just a simple shot on net, right? And the more you take on those, like if as long as you get a guy in front of the net, and I think was it Brady in front because I think
Hmm.
Yep.
Stützle was there too.
He wasn't far off, but yeah.
Yeah, as long as you get bodies to the net and then you get the first goal, boom, game pretty much over at that point.
Uh,
Because the Sens choked game three when they scored first, but most of the time they get it done when they score first.
Hmm.
oh, sorry,
Go
go ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say really quick because you were asking. It was just under 4 minutes into the period,
Yeah,
so
like
it was
not
at a
really
kind of a
right
random
away.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Though
Hmm.
that's the key because and especially on the road, you need to get the crowd out of it.
Yep. Make everyone tense,
Yeah.
especially in the Leafs in this
Hmm.
scenario.
You're
Yep.
totally right that some of the big goals in this series, including this one, have just been kind of random plays where you don't expect it, like those shots from the point. Like the Benoit OT goal was right
Yeah.
off the draw,
Yep.
even quicker than
So
this
tough.
one. And there were some
The
goals in
Sanderson
the
goal you
first
could also
couple
call
games.
random
Yeah,
too.
Sanderson goal was a floater from the point too, and there were some Leafs goals in the first few games where they just throw it on net, crash the net for a rebound, or they'll even just get a bounce off of a body and in. So
Hmm.
sometimes in the playoffs, you got to keep it simple, and taking the goalie's eyes away on shots from the point is one of the easiest ways to have success, I think, because throughout the last few games, I think like the first game they scored on some rebounds on Stolarz, but since then I feel like a lot of the goals that they've been able to get in on him is because they took his eyes away, and I
Yep.
just think
Yeah.
that's crucial. So that's what
Very
you love
good
about
point.
Brady Tkachuk. He's built for the playoffs. That's how you score goals in the playoffs, is going to the net. Whether you tip it, you get the rebound, or you just get the screen, and the defenseman gets credit for the goal. Just absolutely awesome. That kind of simple offense can be productive in the playoffs.
The
Yeah.
better captain this game by far.
Yeah. I'm interested, just on that note, I'm interested to see what Matthews does in game 6 and potentially a game 7, because people have been saying, oh, he's been good because he has a bunch of assists. But I mean, for a guy that's paid to score goals, for a guy that's supposed to be a 60 goal
Hmm.
scorer, the only goal that he has
Yeah.
is off of an amazing pass by Marner where it was a wide open net. So
And he had a good
he's
chance
been
today,
good
too.
defensively, but doesn't have the offensive impact, I think.
Yeah, there was a 2-on-1, I think, in the second period
Oh,
when we
yeah.
were
I
up one
couldn't believe he
nothing.
missed that.
Yeah, me neither. I was just like, you got that was what I would call a certified Drake Batherson moment.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that
Yeah.
is that I think you guys can both attest to this. Batherson's the kind of player who never just shoots it on net to shoot it. He either aims for the top corner or misses it completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that was that was a big Drake Batherson shot where he either went for like the top corner because he knew Ullmark was having a good game and just thought like if I shoot it on him I gotta hit it perfectly, and he just miffed it and it just went wide and it went like crossed that way and then just rounded around and they lost possession because
The
of
thing
it
is,
too.
though, his hand, though, I think it's his left hand. You saw how
Yeah.
he blocked it. That I think has been bothering him the entire year because remember he went to Switzerland or Germany, I think, just
Yes,
to
or
see a
for
doctor.
repairs or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was a hand injury. And like he even admitted it, I think in March, that he was staying in the lineup just to get the team into the playoffs and like get the first spot. Because, like 70% of Matthews is still a hell of a good player.
Yeah.
Um, and he still has the talent to, get assists and stuff. And you're seeing that right now. But it looks like it's knocking his shot off a little bit. And he's the captain now, right? Like this is
Yeah.
his first year as a captain. Here's the pressure. Here's for him. This is the time for him to take the Leafs to the next level because Tavares didn't work. Now it's his time, right? And like I get it, you're injured, right? But your team's got to win no matter what. And as a captain, you got to bring your other boys up. And Chuck has done that. And
Yeah.
Matthews has, I mean, done it, but
He's
not
not been
recently.
bad. It's just that like I think we can all agree on this. There are other players on the Leafs who are just straight up playing better than Matthews is.
Yeah,
Despite the
sure.
fact that Matthews is, I think, still currently this year the most played player in the NHL.
It's kind of
Like,
funny
Yeah.
with the captaincy switching to Matthews at this moment because I think Tavares has been way better than him this
yeah,
series.
Tavares has been amazing.
Tavares
this
He has
in
been
game
very good.
4 was the best player on the ice for both
Yeah.
teams. That was my opinion from watching that game live. Just like on both sides of the puck, defensively, puck protection, back checking,
No,
and he
he's-
scored,
yeah.
had an assist as well. So it'll be interesting to see what Matthews is able to do as this series goes on. One more point on the Chabot goal. It was in the intermission after the second period, they were saying that Giroux should have gotten a penalty for a pick on Marner. I don't know if either of you guys went back and looked at that.
I missed it, so I can't even comment on it.
I just took a look at it like while we were chatting here in the background at the replay, and I can't believe that they actually tried to complain about that, because it is the softest little pick by Giroux, and then Marner gets knocked a little bit off balance, but it's not like he was really going to pressure Chabot that well. Like, Chabot was already getting ready to put the puck onto the net by the time that happens, and it's like, I kind of feel like they were just finding something to whine about there.
And if there's one thing I will say, though this is strategic, this isn't just this is who they are, because of how the refs have called the series so far, I think the Leafs understand it and are trying to get more calls in their favor.
Oh yeah.
But because of that, I cannot believe that a fan base that makes fun of Tim Stützle is seeing Matthew Nice, Pontus Holmberg, William Nylander, like almost
Mitch
all
Marner.
of their forward group. Mitch Marner today
Linus Ullmark.
twice. You know, if you want to, twice if you want to count, obviously this play that you're talking about, Maude. It's quite crazy, especially because I can't think of one Sens player who has embellished a call this offseason. I might be biased, I might be forgetting something or whatever. I might be also
like
more
it's-
recency bias.
I feel like it's easier to remember the ones that bother us.
Yeah,
Whereas,
exactly.
Yes,
whereas
yeah,
the ones, if the
especially,
Sens player
no.
does it, we kind of forget about it and we move
I know,
on.
but even then, I would even if I were to look back through every game and look through every penalty call, I think that a neutral fan would look at these calls. Someone who's like an experienced playoff neutral fan would say that the Sens are getting the more unfair calls. I think that's completely justified.
The thing for me is that just watching some of the other series as well, the reffing has just been like horrible all over, and not in favor of any certain teams. Like you look at that Tampa and Florida series and you see what they're letting go, and then they're suspending guys
for nothing.
They're suspending guys after the game. When there was no
in-game
penalty
zone.
call during the
Yes,
game
yeah,
because
that's
the
what I meant,
refs
yeah.
missed it entirely. Like, and the Montreal series, the Montreal players are just getting cross-checked in the face constantly with no
Yep.
calls.
And
Part of
then
that is that
the
all
high
their-
hit, the high hit that led to that game-winning goal too.
That wasn't high though.
I mean, it was debatable though. I'm not saying high as in like, you know, legally or illegally. I'm just saying that like it was a big hit that led to a
Yeah.
goal. So
Yeah, sure.
everyone's eyes is gonna be on it.
Yeah, but
So
I don't know.
It's just
like,
inconsistency, I think. Eh?
yeah, I
Yes,
guess so.
it's
But like,
definitely inconsistent.
how do we define the consistency part though? Because okay, so it's like if you're calling a trip like a regular trip, then you're going to call another trip on the next team, and then you're probably just going to call another hook, like, and then the hooking, like hooking. What is hooking in the playoffs, right?
It doesn't
Because-
exist in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
but then
Yeah.
no, it exists, but then it happens randomly, and then everyone's like, "Oh my God, like they're against us and everything." And I don't know. I think that both fan bases need to just like get on with the series a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I get, and we haven't really like dived into the reffing that much here, but like I think we just need to like understand that like we still got a game to play.
Yeah,
And the good
you
thing is
can't
that
get too hung up on it.
yeah, and we're figuring out the penalty kill, right? I think we're
Yes.
7 for 7 in our last, and so it's like, okay, good, we're figuring it out. Let's not like blame the reffing for a series loss unless it's a horrible call in Game 7, and it's like the series on the line. Sure, but we got a series here. Let's
Yeah, no
stick-
complaint to the refs in Game 6. Just do your best and everything you can.
Yeah, like I mean, there was some moments, I guess, like the Marner is like, "What are you doing, man? You barely got pushed," but whatever, we won anyway, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
And, so, 'cause, I know we're talking
you
about
got?
offense, so I'm not sure if you're going to bring this up next anyway, but I want to talk about Dylan Cousins.
For sure. I was going to put in the ad read real quick just to
Sorry, go
segment
ahead.
up the show
Yeah.
a little bit, but then we're going to get into the third period and Dylan Cousins' huge goal, his first career playoff goal for the Sens. But if you're enjoying the show so far, you probably want more of this, right? Make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on our channel, and make sure you also check the notification bell so you are alerted whenever we go live. If you're listening to our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or even write a positive review. If you really like us, make sure to follow us on your favorite social media platforms. You can follow the Game Over Network on on Blue Sky at thegameovernetwork.com, on TikTok and Twitter at GameOverNHL, on Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn, it's at Game Over Network. And if you want to follow any of the Game Over Ottawa hosts, we've got all of our socials linked in the descriptions of every episode. You can also find us at thegameovernetwork.com, where you can sign up for our upcoming newsletter. So yeah, we get the huge 2-0 goal in the third period, which thank God, because I honestly, we ended up getting the shutout, but if it stayed at 1-0, I was gonna be, I was so scared. So, and I think I screamed louder than I ever have screamed when Cousins got that shot in on the 2-on-1. But I'll throw it to you, Mike, because you wanted to start this one.
First off, I think we can all say that the angle on the shot was not the angle as in like the angle that Cousins took, but the camera angle on that shot. I couldn't tell if it went in. I just had to wait and see for the marker to go off. I just saw that it was basically a one-timer, shorthanded.
Because it kind of snuck in on the post, right? Like near
and he was pad. He literally shot it from like where the camera would be positioned, like this. Right? So, like, he was directly in front of the goalie from the side angle of the camera. So, like, he was just covering the spot he was shooting. So I had to wait and see until the every marker, the player celebrating, all that stuff. But, oh my God, if there's one thing that I was surprised to see in recent games, and I think is something that is highlighted by this Dylan Cousins goal, is that he has actually been really solid 5-on-5 so far.
He's had a lot of scoring chances, so I'm really happy that he was able to finally bury one tonight. And what a time to finally do it, eh?
Yeah, and honestly, if there's one thing I think the Sens are figuring out, because I think while we are talking about the Cousins goal, I think we can collectively just talk about the penalty kill recently.
Yeah, that factors into it too. Another shorthanded goal.
Yes, I just think that the Sens this year, their penalty kill has been pretty bad structurally. They've had moments that the defensemen are on point and still covering their assignments, and therefore they don't let any goals in, and other points where they have kind of mental lapses and it feels like they can't defend anything on the power play, like Game 1. But these past two games, starting from that 4-minute power play in overtime, despite the fact that wasn't the 5-forward setup the Leafs are running, I think the Sens are now starting to key in onto like the tendencies of what the Leafs are doing, and that's kind of the benefit of having a longer series. And one thing I noticed that led to the Gaudette and Cousins goal, one thing I was keeping track of in this game and the power plays that the Leafs had, they do a lot of plays where they kind of let the wingers circle in, and if they don't have an option, they just kind of pass it back to like almost behind the net, right? They have someone kind of in that little, not bumper position, but on the wall behind the net, right? And I think every Sens player is now starting to key in like, oh, that's an opportunity. If they can't pass inside, if we have a guy kind of near the crease covering a potential one-timer in like the Pinto spot almost, as I would call it, or if they have their active stick out trying to prevent a pass in towards Ullmark, they have to pass towards the defensemen, right? The people by the line. And that's what led that bad pass by Matthews. Gaudette just fully read it. Gaudette, full credit to Gaudette.
Yeah.
For a guy that Damian was saying, why the hell is he on the PK earlier this?
Penalties.
He did a good job. He figured it out.
He did a good job. And like I said, this whole year I've been kind of happily surprised with how good Gaudette has been defensively.
Yeah.
And he did a really good job intercepting that puck, bolting down the ice, and there's one thing we know Dylan Cousins can do, he can skate. So he caught up, they took, and obviously the weakness to the 5-forward power play is the fact that you're usually too committed. Where if the people who are playing by the line are not as aware of playing by the line as defensemen are, so they're usually a little bit more forward. So therefore, whenever one of those bad passes happens, if you can get past that one guy or two guys, you're out. You're good. And it was such a good play to see Dylan Cousins just wire that thing home immediately, especially for a team that we're still all frustrated with. They should shoot more. A couple times in this game, I was just like, they had to have shot that instead of passed it. But it was nowhere near as big of a problem in this game. And obviously, when you're on a two-man break on a shorthanded kill, there's no reason for you not to shoot it at that opportunity. And I'm just really happy that he wired that in.
And like I think, was it Marner defended? I think because that's the thing. They're like you were saying, like
it was Matthews to Marner, but then it got intercepted, and Marner was the one back.
They're understanding the weaknesses and the tendencies of these players. If you have a shorthanded break, do it, because like sure, Marner's a pretty good defensive player, but he's not a defenseman. So you can expose him really well there, and that's what they do. And like I sent out a tweet tonight. It's like, imagine this headline, right? The Sens in the playoffs score a shorthanded goal in Toronto. The goal is scored by Ottawa Senator Dylan Cousins, assisted by Adam Gaudette off on the penalty kill. Like, where are we in this season
Yeah,
before it gets to this point?
if you heard that headline like 8 months
Game
ago
one.
in
Game
September,
one.
you'd be like, "What the fuck?" First of all, you'd be like, "Adam Gaudette is playing in a playoff game," and then you'd be like, "Where
He's,
did
no,
Dylan
then he's
Cousins
playing on the
come from?"
PK, and then it's Dylan Cousins on the team.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's that'd be like one of those reactions where you hear that and you just kind of your brain has to like take multiple takes just to process each step of that. No, but full credit, and I feel like Gaudette also had a pretty solid game today. That fourth line was really good. I think Zetterlund had a not a wide open net chance, but like
Again.
such
by
a
the
good
net
chance.
Yeah, and honestly, the thing about Zetterlund that I can always say is he's snake bitten, but that doesn't stop him from putting all his effort in. Which is why I feel like he's going to be great no matter what position you put him in. And I think also we did kind of cycle all four lines this game. I think we obviously played the first line more than anyone else, but I think I saw Zetterlund for a good portion of the ice in the first two periods. So I'm pretty happy with the coaching today. The coaching today was good. Pinto against that top line, yeah. I've seen enough proof to say yes.
They cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple more things I want to talk about on the shorthanded goal is when I'm looking back at the replay here. So Matthews tries to force that saucer pass up to Marner at the point, and part of the reason why he sauces it the way he does is because Dylan Cousins actually has his stick in the lane on the ice, and that forces Matthews to have to sauce it over.
Yeah.
Adam Gaudette then makes the great read, so obviously he gets the interception, but Dylan Cousins was in there with great positioning as well, forcing Matthews to make that pass, and then great hustle to get back up the ice. And then the other thing that I'm just noticing in the replay now that I think is really funny is that when Dylan Cousins passes the center ice Leafs logo, he's at the freeze frame I have right now. He's on top of the text that says Scotiabank Arena. William Nylander is only a couple feet away from him, but
Where is he when the goal scored?
Nylander gave up. Like, if you watch the replay, he's just
gotta watch
totally
this.
dogging it, and he stops skating at the blue line. Like, once Cousins gets in, Nylander stops skating, and he goes into an upright position before the shot is even taken. So that
It
five
wouldn't
forward
have
power
mattered,
play,
but that's a bad look.
that 5 forward power play, you've got Marner back on defense, and then you've got Nylander on the other point that he's not really putting in much effort on the back check. That's 2 games in a row now where that 5 forward power play has given up a shorthanded goal. So it's interesting. I think especially in game 4 too, because in the overtime power play, the 4-minute, they ended up putting Morgan Riley out there. I think because they were scared to do the 5-man power play in overtime after it already burned them for a shorthanded goal earlier in game 4. And then all the Leafs fans were like, "Oh, Morgan Riley was so terrible on that power play," which I thought was really funny. And then they
Tavares is
go
hurt.
back to it.
Yeah, no, you're missing the fact that
No,
Tavares is hurt.
but they put Matthew Nyes in that spot, and then you have Riley at the point because Tavares is the pivot in the middle. They put Matthew
Right.
Nyes there, Riley's at the point, so they went back
Okay.
to having a defenseman on there, is what I'm saying.
Yes, they could have
And
still
then-
gone 5-man, but you know,
That might have been a little too safe because just because they didn't want to do that in overtime after they already got burned earlier in the game. They go back to it in
Yeah.
this game and they get burned again. I just think that's funny. So, but even then, yeah, you're right that with Tavares missing, you probably don't do 5 forwards with like you'd have to put like Bobby McMahon or Max Domi or something like that. But that shows a weakness in their team that they don't have a good power play quarterback on defense, and Sens were able to exploit that twice now. So I just think that's pretty damn good. And it was the turning point in this game that really put the dagger in the Leafs tonight.
yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Like Marner is probably one of the better players in the league in terms of forwards that can control the point. But he's still a forward at the end of the day. Like I can name
Exactly.
probably Barkov. I know Barkov's played the point before. Like no one on Tampa really, because Hedman's always been there. So yeah, like, but at the end of the day, he's a forward. So if and that's something that the Leafs they might not take as many chances now on the power play heading into game 6 or possibly 7. They might be a little bit more cautious, and that could help the Sens in a way. Like they might not get the shorthanded goal, but they might prevent a ton more because they have
Yeah.
recently. So we're in their heads.
Yeah.
I think the Leafs. I shouldn't be giving them advice, but I feel like what I might predict for the next game, at least, like what I'm expecting them to do, is I'm expecting them, if they're going to go on the power play, they're going to be taking a lot more point shots. And if the puck goes into the corners, they're probably going to go for short side plays or quick one-timers, as opposed to like those long, forward to point passes. Because that's kind of what happened on both plays. I know Pinto's goal, shorthanded, was more of a board battle that they just won. But that goal today, the Cozen's goal, like, that was Austin Matthews being such a good assister. He assists for the enemy team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right on the tape.
It's funny because those quick power play goals of just getting it on net have been what the Leafs have been most successful with, but they've kind of shied away from it a little more on these last it's been a stretch of 7 for 7 penalty kills for the Sens, and it feels like when the Leafs take their time and try to set up a play more, then the Sens are actually able to like get into the defensive positioning that they want, and they still allow shots, they still allow chances, but they're not like grade A. Whereas the most success the Leafs have had on the power play is if they just rush it and like make a play, get a rebound before the Sens can even get into defensive position. But I think that's kind of funny because normally you would want to take your time and make the right play on the power play. But when the Leafs do take their time, the Sens are actually able to do pretty well on the penalty kill. When they were getting wrecked on the penalty kill early in the series, it was just because the Leafs were acting so fast and just getting the puck to the net as quickly as possible. So I think that's an interesting thing that's changed as this series has gone on. And the Sens penalty kill is actually looking surprisingly good, even though it scares the crap out of me whenever it's on the ice.
Still,
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's hard to get game one out of your head.
Yeah, I know. They are blocking the lanes a little bit, and the good thing is that the goaltending is finally chipping in here. But the thing, like, I didn't want to say this that much after the first game and the first 2 or 3, but the Leafs have gotten some lucky goals, right? Like, a couple that have gone off of like feet, and obviously the Benoit goal just sucks straight up. Because if we win that game, right, like, it's a completely different series. It could still be 3-2 Leafs, but it would just be nice that we don't have to claw back from a 3-0 like deficit. But here we are with nothing to lose.
We're halfway there.
Yeah, we are.
Well, that's why I'm so glad that they were actually able to pick up a couple wins here, because like you said, there was a lot of lucky goals in those first 3 games, the first 2 especially, and then it's just 3 overtime games in a row too, and you finally win the 3rd one, but it would have been crushing. Like if this one got to overtime and they lost again, it would have been so frustrating losing a short series where you were so close in almost every game 100%. Other than game 1. So that's what I'm happiest about right now, regardless of how the series ends. The Sens showed that they can win playoff games, which is awesome.
I think if you were to give like a one-line motto post-game for this game, not about this game in particular, but about the Sens of the series so far, something that I don't think you could have said if we lost obviously in Game 4 and even winning in Game 4 the way we did and the overtimes that were before it, we deserve to be here. 100%. I think it's fair to say that with the last game and this game back-to-back, we deserve to be here.
Yeah, because after Game 1, it was like, oh God. Okay, you and me, Mike, right? We were both like,
are we gonna get blown out for the rest of the series?
we were coping a bit, right? Because I actually still had a good amount of
we weren't fully doomer because it was just Game 1 and this, and not to mention this is literally our first playoff game in 8 years, so it's like you're gonna be nervous, you're gonna be a bit anxious, and they've stepped up ever since. Even in those first 2 OT losses, they were getting better slowly but surely. Obviously, that culminated in the 3rd OT game, leading to a win, and then so far the holy grail of Sens playoff games in the modern era. So
yeah. Like you even go back to like the Leafs were up 2-0 in the first period in Game 2, right? Yeah. And then they came back. Adam Gaudette with the tying goal. Drake
Who
Batherson.
Thought Adam Gaudette would be such a factor in this series?
Like, it's actually insane. It is insane because you go back to like the preseason when we had Jan Yannick as the 4th line center, and we were like, oh, is Noah Gregor going to be the 4th line center? Is Nick Cousins going to be like? And then here we are. Adam Gaudette I think he has 3 points, in 5 games. And he doesn't play a lot.
No.
That's what I love about the playoffs, is seeing like unsung heroes and guys that you wouldn't expect just step up and have an impact, which is awesome.
I just want to look over here. If you guys want, I'm opening up the playoff stats really quick. I have it open right here. Goddard has 3 points. He's tied for 4th on the team in
Secret
points in the
weapon.
playoffs. He's tied with Sanderson, who also has 3 points. Goddard's actually a +2, and Sanderson's flat, like he's a 0. You have Kachuk number 1 in points with 6 points in 5 games. You have Stützle number 2 with 5 points in 5 games, so 2 point per game players, and Kachuk and Stützle.
Nice.
Today helped a lot. And honestly, someone who got, I think, only 1 point today, but who's been actually great is Claude Giroux.
Yeah, he has points in 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, he's 4 points in 5 games, and I just think it's kind of awesome to see how, like, heading into the playoffs, and even after game 1, we're like, Claude Giroux deserves to be demoted a little bit. He's been struggling in the face-offs. You know, he's clearly getting worse, even though he's still very good. And then he's just like, you know what? I'm still gonna get points. I'm still gonna be one of the best offensive players on the team. And another thing I'd like to point out as well, though he's not producing great points-wise, Cousins is 2 points with a 0, which is actually better than Batherson, for example, who is 2 points with a -2, even though they did play a lot together so far.
And hey, you mentioned Giroux on the faceoffs. That was another huge thing tonight. Was that the faceoffs
Yeah,
were
50-50.
damn near
Yeah,
even.
basically 50-50.
50.7 versus 49.3.
Yeah,
so,
one face-off difference.
I think that's like the first time in the series that it's actually been that close. Every other game was just the Leafs absolutely dominating on the faceoffs. So
Yeah.
the fact that it was even like split this time was huge in terms of how it affected the flow of play, because like you get a goal off of a faceoff from Chabot, and it helps the penalty kill too, being able to make those clears. Like I said earlier about the Leafs getting those quick shots on net off of the faceoff, they've been able to avoid a lot of that too. So faceoffs finally turning a little bit closer to the Sens' way has been huge as well.
Yeah.
There's not many teams that can do better in the face-off dot too than the Sens. I think we're 4th and the Leafs are
Yeah,
second.
we're 4th and the Leafs are 2nd, which is ridiculous. Like, I think after game 3, I was so pissed at how bad we were doing in the faceoffs. And then I look it up and I'm like, holy shit, the Leafs are actually better than the Sens in the regular season on that. So
I mean, so much of that is Giroux, though.
I think
even though the Sens
Giroux-
were good, but
yeah, I think Giroux and Tavares are both like top 5.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Matthews is great too, but then on the Sens, right? Like before it was Pinto, not Pinto, Norris. But then Cousins is around 50. Greg is like underratedly better now. Stützle isn't trash anymore, and then Pinto is good already. So Gaudette I think is like mid, but and then Kachuk is always being around 53%, I think.
Yeah.
So you got some options there.
And also, I think another really key, just one last thing to say about the face-offs really quick. I might be remembering wrong, but even if this is incorrect, I think I can say this about the entire game. Let me just check the stats for this game, just to double check where I'm not just completely lying. It doesn't show on
What's your theory? What are
The
you
Athletic.
thinking?
I'm pretty sure that Stützle won the face-off to lead to the Chabot goal, which is why
did.
he
He
has
did,
that assist.
Yep.
So full credit to a player that like a lot of Sens fans have been like, he's a great center because of his flow, his space, and the fact that he can defend so much better than he used to. The face-offs is the one thing that he's still working out.
That's true. He got a big one here.
And he won a big one today, so full credit to that, even though it's such a small thing. I think it's the one of the few bits of Stützle's game that's been kind of just, it's still a work in progress. It's not something where it's like, it's good and can be great. This is like mediocre but could be good kind of situation. And I think that Stützle has been kind of like a Chuck, just growing throughout the series. And I can't wait for game 6 to see how they both do.
I can't wait for that game.
It's going to be so hype.
Back in Ottawa!
Holy shit.
Kachuk didn't lie when he
didn't
was
lie.
yelling
Yeah.
to the fans and saying, "We'll be back here." He knew. He
He was
manifested that
speaking
shit.
facts.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into our final segment here in a second. Just going to plug our merch quickly before that. It's going to look a little wonky because it's not set up for the 3-person setup here. But what better way to support something than support something you love than by repping it on yourself? Game Over's apparel line is available with 3 unique lines. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro skater design, if you want to make a statement with our established design, if you want to wear your love for goalies proudly with the live and die by the goalie design, or if you just need another coffee mug, we have you covered. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg, use the QR code on stream now and take a look through our apparel store. Help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping your community. All right, so for the last segment here tonight, gonna take a look at chat now, and we can also just kind of get into how we're feeling heading into Game 6 as well, as the series will continue, which I'm so happy about. Adam Firebear, Charlie celebrating in the chat the first Game Over Ottawa playoff win episode, because we missed the last one.
Yeah, though I think with how happy we were today, this kind of covers the happiness of both games.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Just the fact, like, just on that topic too, like, even if we lost this game, I think I still would have been quite happy coming into this one, specifically because I was at Game 4, and just being able to have that experience and being able to celebrate.
A fan. You were a fan in the arena, watching their first playoff win since 2017.
And it didn't come easy too. Overtime, killing the double minor. Like, I thought it was done. Like, I was not expecting to win at any point in overtime there. But it was like one of the most fun nights I've ever had at the CTC ever. So even if the series had ended tonight, that moment alone makes the season a success for me as a fan. My happiness as a fan. But now we get Game 6, which is going to be even better. The crowd's going to be even louder. There's probably going to be less Leafs fans than there was in Game 4.
Yeah, they won't be planning it.
Because I definitely think some season ticket holders were selling off their tickets with the team down 3-0. But now with Game 6, with a chance to force Game 7, I think it's going to be like mostly Sens fans.
It won't be the same as if it was the Sens with a potential Game 7, because as in, like, it won't be in Ottawa. It'll be in Toronto.
They could get eliminated on home ice.
But as a Sens fan, no matter what, if you weren't going to travel to Toronto, this is the last game you would have seen in the first round. Mm-hmm. So no matter what, Sens season ticket holders are going to get their full value of this playoff run. Already good. The best thing would be to see them win as opposed to lose, but at least you get to say goodbye as opposed to having to watch them on the TV.
Yeah, and a goodbye in Game 6 will be so much better than a goodbye in Game 4, which it could have been. So I'm happy that the team has given us this.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving, and what I mean by that is the Leafs in the first round.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That crowd on it's going to be Thursday, I believe. Has to be the loudest it has been. Like, I don't care about games 3. Like,
chant Stolars from minute 1.
Yeah, and you need to get the first goal so bad, and then play your game, because this team, I don't care. Like, the second and third period could be a snooze fest, but as long as you get the game and you win it, boom, the fans are happy. Some of the Leafs fans that are obviously living in Ottawa are traveling up because cheaper tickets. Boo them out of the arena because they're like roaches. They're literally everywhere, every single part of the arena. I saw a ton of videos online of like fans booing them, and honestly, like okay, you got to give them a little respect for coming to their barn, but they do it all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just because I'm a Sens fan. It's like being the little brother, right? So I'm obviously very sensitive about this stuff. But like I think I saw another video too. I think it was from Nick Spence on Twitter. He was taking a video, and like this Leafs fan, she started like throwing hands against someone.
Oh my God.
As well.
I can't imagine getting in a fight when your team's up 3-0 in the series, or 3-1 if it was after the game. Like, just calm down, But it might get pretty heated at Game 6 potentially.
One more thing before we hop into the chat, because we actually do have quite a lot of messages. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of it's just Game Over Montreal, talking with another Montreal fan, or at least one bringing up Dvorak and Matthews and comparing the two in the playoffs right now, which I think is a hilarious comparison to make. But in all seriousness, there is one thing I want to point out. No jokes, all seriousness. Leafs fans, I know that you have your trauma. I know that you had your first round woes. And I know the fact that you were pretty confident that once we scored the empty netter, us by we, I mean Sens fans, that the game was over. Your arena looked like a Florida Panthers game circa 2017.
Mm-hmm.
They emptied out of there as fast as possible.
As fast as possible. It's a Tuesday night. I don't think the traffic's going to be that bad unless you're coming in from like
They
Oshawa
probably all take the train too in the downtown of Toronto. No one's driving.
Your transit's so much better than Ottawa's. Like you're in this position where you should be sitting in those seats, especially because even Damian and I talked about this in game one. We gave full credit to the Leafs fans being so much louder than they were in previous years.
Yeah, they do.
Way less of those corporate guys in those seats, kind of just there to watch a team, right? And hoping that they win and maybe cash out on their bets. But I just feel like this game was the downside to having more true fans in the stands. You have the anger and the trauma seeping in from years past.
Yeah, the
another
booze too.
The booze, another,
Ooh.
and this thing. And the one part that I think we can all attest to, the one thing that we can connect with Habs fans on, as they mentioned in the chat, the fact that they could blow another 3-1 lead, but it's worse.
It's worse.
It's a
Against another
3-0
Canadian
lead
team.
against an underdog Canadian team.
Yeah.
This is the one way that they haven't choked yet. They've done like every other way
Yeah,
imaginable,
it's like they're
other
collecting.
than a 3-0
Yeah, it's-
choke.
Dude, they have a scrapbook of traumatic first round losses, and they haven't collected the reverse sweep page yet, and they're
Yeah.
about to. They're about to.
On that topic, the first comment I wanted to mention from Armonia, they said, I wouldn't say I'm scared of the Sens by any means, but I do think that Thursday is the real Game 7. If the
Yes,
Sens win
yeah.
that one, then Saturday is a formality. I kind of agree, because that's how it went in that Leafs and Habs series. After Montreal won Game 6 on home ice, the Leafs had no juice in Game 7. Like, they had nothing. They would have a little bit more this time with a crowd behind them, but like Mike was just saying, that crowd is scarred. That crowd has been through so much that if it gets to a Game 7 and the Sens get like a 1-goal lead, it's going to be silent in that building. So the only thing where I would say it's not necessarily a formality is that the Sens have never won a Game 7, but with the track record of the Leafs, I get why you feel that way as a Leafs fan.
Yeah, like, I don't think there's too much to comment on that. Yes, I feel like Game 6 is the most important game of the series because the pressure on the Leafs in Game 7 to not blow this thing. It's like what happened with Edmonton and Florida, but Florida didn't have the trauma. Florida literally reversed swept from 3-1 given, not 3-0, but basically reverse swept Boston a couple years back.
Yeah.
So they knew what it was like to kind of go through that. It obviously, shoe on a different foot situation, but the amount of pressure on that Leafs team, if the Sens win Game 6, I think it's either going to be like a blow up for the Leafs or a blow up for the Sens. I cannot see Game 7 going to OT. You know what I mean? And if it does, Sens are winning. That'd be my bold prediction. If Game 7 goes to OT, there is no way. There is no way the Leafs are winning.
I want the crowd to make a statement in Game 6. If we win that, I want them to pull out some very unique chants.
That would be a great way.
To actually like taunt the players and the core players on the Leafs. Like, I know there's like the Matthews Balding one and stuff, but I want them to like deliberately, this is really harsh, but I want them to deliberately go at them and
Just
make
bully
up
them.
some chant.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of being a fan, right?
I
Like,
have a great idea. Although obviously we'll see how many fans in the chat who will watch this afterwards actually try to implement this. I might tweet it or whatever, maybe in the near future. Something I said in my skit video, which is here on the Game Over Ottawa channel, about the Sens fan waking up after a coma throughout the whole rebuild. I ended it off with the previous Sens fan saying that it's time for revenge. And what I mean for that is the chant will go to say, "It's your turn." Like, "It's your turn," clap, 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 clap. Referencing the Battle of Ontario's, where the Sens were the better team every time and laid an egg. It's their turn. And
I like that.
Game 6, don't do that chant. Game 7. Game 6 if you're winning.
If
You're winning.
at the
That's what I
end,
mean. Because you can't do it in Toronto.
if
But
it's like
Game
a big
6, if the game is like clearly in your favor, like it was today, it's your turn. Clap,
In
clap,
Game
clap, clap.
4, there was someone near my section who was, for the whole game, trying to start the Marner's leaving chant, and it finally did catch on in the third period.
Yes,
the rest
I
of the
like that
stadium
chant. That was
did
good.
get it, but he was so dedicated to getting it like from the first period, and I was kind of like, I don't want to go in on this chant because we were losing the series 3-0 at this point. We could get swept right now. I'm not going to talk about their player leaving when they're about to advance to the second round. However, bring that one back in Game 6 if we're winning, because
Yes,
then
that's also
Marner,
so mean.
Marner leaving
Yeah.
or staying becomes a question mark again if the Leafs can't pull this series off. So I think that might be one to revisit for crowd chants.
Yeah, and the Sens crowd is underrated too. Like
Yeah.
we've gotten so much flack over the years for having bad crowds because of, well, the Melnick era, and then our team was trash for the longest time. We had Nikita Zaitsev, we had Josh Brown, we had Eric DeBrant in the top four at times and stuff, and Matt Murray in goal, and now we're actually good. So like we got to make a statement as being like a really good crowd to watch, like as a
Especially
different
because there's
fan.
no other games in the series to go to as a Sens fan.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you're not going to get tickets in Toronto probably unless you're
no,
local to Toronto. So just pack that place as much as you can. And I think we can very easily transition into a host from Game Over Toronto popping by, Zach Payne, saying, how much are you guys enjoying these games with zero stress knowing that you have nothing to lose? By the way, if you win Game 6, Game
It's
7 is a
still
formality.
stress. It's still stressful. Like,
But it's a different kind of stress,
technically we have nothing to lose, but still watching my team in playoff hockey, I'm like, I don't want the season to end. Especially since they've been facing elimination the last 2 games. It's still like crazy stress for me anyway. But what about you guys?
I feel like it's a different kind of stress. Like, I think that the stress that the Sens are in right now and the stress the Leafs are in right now are two entirely different kinds of stress.
Of course.
So I think that the stress we're in is I think it's kind of like I watched a film breakdown video that referenced this. But like, oh yeah, it's distress and eustress. EU stress. Like, these are actually words. I don't know if I can look it up just to make sure that I'm not making it up. But
You're educating us
sometimes
here.
yes, but eustress is moderate or normal psychological stress interpreted as being beneficial, where distress is stress interpreted as being bad. So this is coming from a journalist, so I'm actually happy I can I can throw
I
these
see
words
what you
around.
mean. Ours is more like exciting stress, whereas theirs is just doom and gloom stress, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Their stress is that things are collapsing around them and they don't know what's going to happen. Our stress is, can we do this? Can we prove everyone wrong? And the best part is that as the series goes longer, that eustress becomes more beneficial.
yep.
So
Like,
that'd be my words of the day, guys, for everyone in chat. Eustress, EU stress, all one word, and then distress, which everyone
well,
knows.
like I'll go back to a quote from Nick Cousins after Game 4, and they're just like they're kind of talking out of their ass here, right? Because they just came off of a win, they're feeling good. You get Game 4 out of the way, sure, you survive. Like I remember when they scored the goal, I didn't even celebrate that much. I was just
It was
like,
more of an
"Thank goodness."
exhale.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And then Game 5 was the biggest hill to climb because you're going into their barn. It's still 3-1, whatever. And then now you don't win an OT. Like you win 4-0, sure, 2-0 with empty netters, 0 goals against. And now you're going back home. And then back home, you got the crowd on your side. And the crowd is better than the Leafs crowd because we don't have suits taking up half of the lower bowl. And then Game 7, whatever. Doesn't matter because they're they're stressed as hell, right? So yeah, like they got the Game 5 out of the way, and they're good. They're good, like on a mental side.
yeah, not even no sweep, no gentleman sweep either.
Yep.
Which, as I said, as I said earlier, the motto of the Sens at this point is "We deserve to be here." And now let's just see how far they take it.
Yep. Yep.
100%. Matthew in the chat also saying we could chant 1-13 because that is their
Stop
record
it.
in elimination games.
But there
I
is
feel like
really a
that's
good
hard-
like. How do you do like a?
yeah. How do you turn that into a catchy chant?
Yes,
I like
into a
the
catchy
idea.
chant.
I definitely like the idea, but
Also,
1 in
not
13
every
sign,
fan-
just
not,
a 1 in 13
Yeah,
sign
sign.
would go hard. Like
not
just
every
someone
fan's gonna
with a
know
big
that, though.
1 in
That's the
13.
issue. Like, not there might be some casual fans there, right, that are
Yeah.
on Twitter and stuff, or I'm not trying to hate, but it's a good chant. I would support it 100%.
Another one, Newbie Sports saying, have we talked about Clevin and how great he's been? Clevin has been like a top
Guys,
3 Sens
I-
player this series for me.
What did this guy do in between the end of the season? Like he
He
was already
is
good at
locked
the end of
the
the
fuck
season.
in for
Yeah, he
playoffs,
is
like-
locked the fuck. Yeah, yes.
Because
I
he
just
was
think
good all year, but he had his moments of mistakes, but he's been like damn near mistake free. And his confidence with the puck, carrying it up the ice too, and making a first pass, like much better.
It's-
We're seeing him do it a lot more.
I think I don't mean this to offend anyone who's a big fan of Tyler Clevin, but he thinks he's Jake Sanderson, and I kind of love it.
Yeah, maybe he's learning a little bit from Sanderson and how
Yeah.
he's able to skate the puck up the ice. He created the freaking overtime winner in Game 4 by driving up the
Yeah,
ice.
just
and
by rushing up
almost
the ice,
almost
trying to
roofed
rip
a
shot,
backhander on
and then
Solars.
forechecking. Like, again, who is this guy? I love him. And one thing I also want to point out really quick before you talk, either of you, is Cleven was a playoff riser back in college. That I remember. He was one of those guys who always stepped up during the playoffs for North Dakota. So it's glad to see that's carrying over to him now.
Yeah.
Shout out Dorian. Shout out Dorian.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
great Pierre Dorian pick. Oh my god.
I mean, hey, to bring it full circle, right? We traded up. We traded
Against the
up
Leafs.
against the Leafs, and then they
Against the
picked two
Leafs.
guys that aren't even in the lineup right
Yeah, and they tried to gloat so hard for like, oh, the Sens are so stupid. They took this guy who's just a bum defenseman, and we got these sweet European prospects who
How
are
many points
lighting
has
it
he
up in
got?
Europe. What's
Hey,
that?
guys, how many points does that player have that that the Leafs drafted?
now. Topi Niemela and Ronnie
Neither of them have
Hirvonen.
played an NHL game.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
would I have known?
Cleven have 3, I think. Or no, he has 2, I think. But because he got an assist on the Gaudette goal, he got an assist on the Sanderson
He
goal.
deserved no, he didn't get an assist on the Sanderson goal.
Oh yeah, they
What?
removed them.
Oh,
They removed
that's
both
dumb.
assists because the
That
Leafs
was-
player cleared it to the point.
Yes, because technically it was he deserved one. That was
Yeah.
kind of like whenever Zetterlund should have gotten his first point way back when on that Giroux goal where he forechecked, the puck went out, and then Giroux scored. That's kind of the same thing that happened here, where it's like Cleven took that shot, he rimmed around or it went to the corner, and then he basically forechecked so the puck kept going. But technically, because the Leafs player got a stick on it, even though he just slowed it down a little, it canceled any assists, right? So it's just a Sanderson shot. But Cleven hasn't had points, but as we can all say here, Cleven has been crazy.
Yeah.
And the absolute amount of like gigamind, megamind, like 5-head brain that Travis Green has to play Cleven and Chabot together, I think is amazing.
Yeah,
bad.
there was a few of those shifts, eh?
And I'm
Yeah.
just like, whoa, okay, we're doing this now, and it's working. I'm down for this.
He
Yeah.
deserves the occasional promotion, and since the D is more stacked on the left side, if you're gonna move him up at all, you gotta put someone on their offside. So
Oh,
yeah.
and Clevin Yakimchuk next year is gonna be amazing. People have been saying that should be our third pair next year. Like, no offense to Matt and Paolo, but if we have the opportunity to bring Yakimchuk in next year, and like it's fine, like he's good enough to play. I know maybe playing him on the third pair is the best option. You want him in the top two. I guess you can move Jensen down.
you would want
Oh,
to start him on the
Down the
third pair, I
line.
think.
Down the line to be a great
Yeah,
player,
but even then, I'm just salivating with the idea of a more confident Clevin who's still defensively solid playing with a complete firecracker like Yakimchuk. I think that would be a great pair in my mind, at least.
Yeah.
And hey, we don't even need to be talking about next season's lineup yet because
Yeah,
we're
no.
not done this
Next
season.
game's lineup.
Yeah. So any other comments either you wanted to pull out from the chat before we go?
Obviously, Charlie popped in at the very, very start saying Sens in the playoff. Yes, obviously. Okay, let me just see if there was another. I knew there was another one that I really enjoyed here. Where is it here? I mean, do you want to talk about Christian Dvorak having more goals than Matthews? No.
Anyone who has scored 2 goals has passed Matthews at this point. He's gonna have to step up for the Leafs, I think.
This isn't really a question. I think it's more of a comment that I think is a great way to end it up. This is with Newbie Sports saying, even if we lose, even if it's in Game 6, nobody can say the Sens didn't make this a series.
Yeah, that's what I'm most happy about. That's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of this team at this point, no matter how the series ends. They've
Yeah.
made it competitive. I was saying before the series that the Sens are going to surprise some people and make a really entertaining series. That take didn't look so great over the first 3 games, despite there being 2 overtimes. But
it worked.
now we
Yeah.
have a chance to tie the series, so I think that take is aging well now.
Yeah. I don't even think there's a chance that take goes bad. Like, even if the Sens lose 20-0 in Game 6, they still made it a series.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's like the stuff that happens in my nightmares where it's like, oh, big game for the Sens, and then it's just like something impossible happens, like 20
What?
goals against.
No, it's like, what? There was 4 different goals where the puck deflects off a stick and kind of loops into the net. Like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Sens get shut out. Like,
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen.
No, but I think we can. I don't think we can speak for all Sens fans, but we can definitely speak for Game Over Ottawa when we say, and as I said earlier, no one can say we didn't make it a series.
Yeah.
100%. So I would say, yeah, regardless of how this ends, great season for the Sens, and hopefully we will have even more games past Game 6 to cover for you.
Game 7.
Here on Game Over Ottawa.
Game 7, come on.
So look forward to Game 6 on Thursday. I think that'll do it for tonight. Thank you everyone so much for watching or listening. Leave a like on YouTube if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are not already, and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted when we start our streams after Sens games. Go Sens go. Let's have some fun in Game 6.
Let's go.
Let's go.